to Horror Movies with Friends. I am your host, Andy Green, aka Wolfmandy Screame, at least for the next 31 days if I can survive it, and hopefully you can too. That's right, this is day 2 of 31 days of horror movies, wonderful guests, wonderful drinks, and the movies come from a specific place. They come from Hooptober Ocho. That is a criteria from the Letterboxd app community created by the patron saint of horror, El Cinemonster. And the goal was to watch movies I've never seen before, for the most part. Today is definitely one of those days. And also the goal was to meet new people. And this is another big thing for today, because this is the first time we've ever met. It's been 15 minutes of knowing you. Yep. Ziana Weston, welcome to the show.
Thanks
Fellow
for having
Washingtonian,
me. Yes.
Writer, basic cinephile.
That's
Hello.
me.
That's
Hello.
you. Hi, thank you. So you're on the haunted couch, the Blondie haunted couch. We don't know where he is at this point.
He's waiting to make his entrance.
He will. It's time to be feeding soon. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. What did I make you watch, and do you regret it?
We watched Hagazussa, which was a 15th century Gothic tale about a witchy pagan orphan named Albrun.
Albrun, yeah.
And I do not regret
it. Me neither. I texted you, I was like, this is an intense first movie to watch with someone. I guess we didn't watch it with each other, but it was just like, oh, she doesn't know me, and this movie, well actually, before we get into the movie, watch it, find it on Canopy. Is that where you went?
That's where I watched
okay.
It, yeah.
It's free on Canopy if you have access to that. You can get it through your library, I believe, or I'm sure someone out there can get it for you illegally. Don't tell me. Or let's contact the director who is outside honking his car. That is Lukas Feigelfeld, ladies and gentlemen, who does a really good job in this movie. And so does Alexandra Cwen, who is Albrun. But yeah, before we get too much further into this crazy movie, it's not crazy, it's intense. I think we need this. I think we need to introduce the other star of our show, the main star, our drink. And I have to offer you first. Would you like to partake?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So we have the Aquelarre, and this is magic. Woo! Okay, that is a bottle opener for anyone who can't see it. And this hopefully explodes in my face right at this moment. Yep, it did. Look at that. That is good content, ladies and gentlemen. All right, only on the floor. That is a spicy witch, ladies and gentlemen. She was waiting. And it even says it like, look, she's exploding there. And I don't know if I'm in the camera. We'll find out. So this is the Constantina Sotelo brand. And she is a woman winemaker from Spain. She's been making wine since 1999. And the Aquelarre is a sparkling red.
Ooh. Yeah,
sparkling red. And I mean, we're actually having this in the morning, so it feels actually a little bit more normal. It's just the trick of the scheduling here. So allow me to pour. This is an all-natural wine as well. Sorry for my wet hands here. And here, let's do it like so. Let's get that. Ooh.
Oh, look at that foam.
A lot of foam here. But I think, you know what foam does? It turns into glorious liquid. It's science.
Science, yes.
Yeah. I think we'll see how that is. All right. Ooh, the effervescent fizz is wonderful. Ooh, I was a little aggressive on mine. I'm just impatient to get in this. Are we getting that audio?
You could do some ASMR with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Breakfast wine edition.
Breakfast wine, yeah. So yeah, this is it mentions that it's a brut nature, so like champagne, and it is from a Caino grape, which don't ask me for more information on that.
Okay.
But thank you for watching that performance. That was my favorite part. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, let's. Okay, so what colors are we seeing here?
I'm seeing some reds.
I see red, yeah, but it's sort of it's almost a rosé, but it's darker. It's like a pink, it's like a cherry. Would we say that?
Yeah, because it is like a brighter red as opposed to like a burgundy red.
What's that soda that's like, it's almost like a Shirley Temple color.
Ooh, yeah.
That's what this is, but like a little darker, a little bit bloodier. A Bloody Shirley, which I think is a drink, but it's like Bloody Mary. It sounds gross, actually. That can't be a thing.
God. No,
yeah, that can't be a thing.
Let's not. That's not real.
Smell-wise, I don't get much.
Me neither.
But it's there.
Smells good.
Ooh, it's very dry.
It is very dry. I guess I was expecting it to be sweeter. I don't know why.
Well, I think, the sparkling, a lot of, at least the champagne that we're able to afford is sweeter.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, no, it's dry, it's subtle, which I feel like this movie is in a lot of ways, at least in the filmmaking. So it actually feels like a good pairing, and it has its explosions as well.
This is true. It's unexpected.
It is unexpected. So yeah, where did this movie find you in the horror realm? Like, I know you chose it because you hadn't seen it, and that was why I put it on there. And I knew that it was sort of that there was some feminism at play here. There was definitely a new take on the witch story, which has very convoluted, historical relevance. And the reason why witches were killed all the time is just because men hate women.
Yeah.
So no news there. But anyway, hopefully we got a little bit different. What did you think? Or I guess I'm talking for you. Tell me, yeah.
Okay, I guess the first part of your question was like, where did this find me within my horror movie journey?
Yeah, let's talk journeys.
Okay, so I used to love scary movies when I was younger. Like as a small child, I was scared of everything. I was scared of Toy Story. I was scared of, I thought my toys would come alive and attack me.
Actually, the baby is really scary, and Sid is like a monster. So,
yes, he is. So I wasn't allowed to watch anything scary because my parents knew I would freak out. I got a little bit older, and I kept asking, like, I want to watch scary movies. My parents were like, are you sure you're ready for it? So then they let me, and like as a teenager, loved it. Loved scary movies. And then my 20s hit and got horrible anxiety from watching anything scary. So if I watched a scary movie, it wasn't just like I'm scared for an hour and a half. It was like I'm scared all night. I'm scared the whole next day. And I was like, this isn't fun at all. So I'm kind of coming out of that. So that's where this movie is finding me. Like,
okay, so you're out. You had a dark period when it comes to horror, and now this isn't what's helping you out, I'm assuming. But like you're now on the other side of that, where does it help your anxiety?
I wouldn't say that it helps, but it doesn't trigger it anymore. Okay. So I would say that's pretty good. So I've been excited to get back into it because I do like horror movies. Just wasn't able to watch them for a while. So this year I've been like excited to
dive in.
Yeah, to dive back in to watch new movies that I hadn't previously been able to handle.
Well, if you're like Ziana, join us on this journey here. Subscribe. I didn't say it. I'm supposed to say that way earlier. Subscribe, and then, every day you're going to see me and someone else more intelligent than me on the other side of me. And I wanted to say that, for me, I loved Universal monster movies as a kid, but those aren't really scary. I watched them with my dad and stuff like that. And then I just didn't really watch the horror movies that were out until I think The Ring, like the American remake, and that scared the shit out of me, but I loved it. But it was still like, I didn't like going to movies with people that were scary because I was embarrassed to be scared or to be affected in front of other people, or that I would be judged for it, even though the whole point is to get scared in a scary movie. But I was just a self-conscious, nervous kid. And now, I think I still do like seeing a scary movie by myself because that actually is also sort of scarier in itself. The imagination gets to play. Yeah. And for me, I don't think it triggers my anxiety, but it almost feels like a place for my anxiety to play. Like some of my fears are happening on screen, or my brain is doing work beyond the movie, getting places. Like, I don't know about Hagazussa so much, but I definitely was writing, oh no, uh-oh. Oof. And I think my wife was like sort of laughing in the other room as she was getting ready for bed, as I'm just like, I have to talk about this scene.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of this scenes in this movie. But let's take a drink.
Okay.
Remember this, and then we'll go into the scenes. I think we
Okay.
need to. Yeah. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that this wine was recommended to me by the wonderful women at Vinovore, a woman-owned shop that they make their own wine, and they only have natural wine and wine that are women-owned brands, and it's in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you can find them online too.
Okay.
So, and this is another good choice. So, Albrun, what are your thoughts? I feel like we just need to get to the goats, or we need to get to the what do we need to get to? I don't know what.
Wow, where to unpack? I mean, I guess the movie starts out as she's like a child.
Yes. Yes.
And you think it kind of seems like the main character is gonna be her mother.
Martha. Yeah, I have the same vibe.
So this movie, first of all, doesn't have much dialogue.
No.
At all. It's really just watching them live their lives. And so I feel like that kind of adds to the mystery at the beginning. Like, you're trying to figure out who these people are, where they are, what they're doing, and again, like, it's the mother and the daughter, and you're trying to figure out who this story is even about.
Right, when the mom passes out in the snow, and I think she's dead at that point, I'm like, where do we go from here? And it's like 10 minutes in or something. But yeah, like, they're in the woods, they're in beautiful area in Germany.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
And it's in the snow when we pick it up, and the first shot is like an eye, but then we see footprints in the snow, or at least that's what we figure out. And I'm gonna put a bookmark in that, because I have a bullshit thing that I'm gonna mention later about my theory on the footprints in the snow. It's not a theory. Anyway, yes. Then it picks up, and Albrun is now an adult and has a baby of her own.
And we don't know where this baby came from.
No, we don't, but we figure it out pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
Because, well, she is also like her mother, and her mother had a crazy, weird ending, right? Very witchy, and ended up, with snakes in the woods, dead, and was very creepy. Like when she had her black fingers and was like rubbing her daughter when they were like snuggling.
Yeah,
that wasn't fun.
I wasn't quite sure what was going on at that part.
You said that you had to like have the spark notes going for this movie.
Yes.
There was, I think there's a lot of moments that are up for interpretation in this one, for sure. And I don't know, like what'd you think because it starts with Albrun getting basically thrown rocks at from kids. It starts meaning part 2. Like it sort of brackets with different words in German as we go on. This one I think was called horns, the second part. And so yeah, she's accosted for being a witch. Her mom was accosted for being a witch, because we had like 3 terrifying people trying to like burn down their house, or at least threatening that. I thought like, oh, it's gonna end really early.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. But then she gets helped out by who we think is a friend.
Yeah. She meets a woman from the village who is very, Albrun barely says anything. And this other woman does all of the talking. She seems very friendly, very...
Do you get the vibe that they're into each other?
Oh, for sure. I thought this was going to be a love story. And I was like, that makes sense with the witch theme and the social outcast. I was hoping for a love story.
Oh, we don't... No, that's why we need to get another drink. It's not a love story, ladies and gentlemen.
No love there.
Oh, by the way, you don't have to drink whenever I drink. I'm just like saying it to cue myself.
This is really tasty.
It is really tasty.
Yeah,
well, as a parting gift, you get the rest of this bottle of wine.
Okay.
That's the least I could do.
I don't know if it'll fit in my cup holder.
Don't put it in your cup holder. You'll get pulled over.
I'll drive, holding it in one hand, drive with the other.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That'll end just as hard as this movie does. Yeah, no, Swinda is a horrible person. I guess what the theme of the movie, it seems like to me, is, they're they were outcast when it was the mom and the daughter still too. There was no father figure, and they were accosted for being witches back then. Then she dies, and it's just this girl who grew up by herself and now somehow has a kid, and we know that it's basically from assault, right? That like
for sure.
It was not conceived consensually, and but of course she's also again accosted for being a witch. Basically, if you're a single woman alone in the woods, you're a witch, or just a lonely person, right? I don't blame her for going to where she goes.
I don't either, and it seems like at the beginning, Swenda, that's the
Swenda, yeah.
Okay, so it seems like Swenda's trying to be a friend and to socialize her. She goes up to visit her. She talks to her when Albrun is like walking the path through the village and the other people, and it seems like she's trying to kind of start to include her. And you get this feeling that like Albrun is very weary of that. Like she doesn't trust anyone.
For good reason.
For good reason, exactly. And she wants to kind of just be alone at the top of the village. But that's her zone of safety or relative safety.
Right,
so,
and it's a nice place to be.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful property.
It's beautiful. So you see why she's reluctant to socialize with anyone else, because she's kind of got a good setup away from everyone.
Well, and I mean, I guess the baby she named it Martha after her mother, the baby's grandmother. That gives her something. I don't think the circumstances she wanted, but it's like, it clearly is like, yeah, that's her zone. This is all, the goats and the baby. She makes milk and cheese, and that's how I think presumably she makes money.
Yeah.
Although it seems like, it doesn't seem like anyone wants to buy from her, but I guess some people, thankfully, the product sells itself, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like these aren't abundant times, so. That's
true. Yeah, you take what cheese and milk you can find.
Exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. Not abundant times. No. There is no abundance. This movie is in abundance, for sure. Or like the opposite of abundance. Yeah. Although the lush scenery is that, and I think that's one of my favorite parts about it is the contrast. It's like beautiful world, horrible people, and that's reminds me of real life.
We haven't come too far yet.
Yeah, it's only been 6 centuries or whatever. We have a different plague now. But did you think that was sort of the plague when we saw the guy carting the dead bodies across? Or was that like because she cursed them?
I think she cursed them.
Okay, with the rat piss.
Yes, which is at least that's how I.
Big leap, but we don't need to do the like beat by beat thing. We're having wine and we're just talking about the things. But yeah,
I think at least because she does. Yeah, she kind of curses these people that have wronged her, and then you see their dead bodies being carried away. And I think...
And she smiled.
I think at least she thinks it's her curse. So, we don't know for sure exactly what caused their death. It could be natural causes, but there is some eerie coincidences there.
Well, it also could be that, she fouled up the water supply. She put a dead rat and peed in it. Oh, maybe they just got sick.
That was such a power move. I was like, oh yes.
Hell yes.
To live at the top of the village and be like, I'm shitting in your water. Here's a dead rat.
Yeah.
Have fun.
And this comes after a really unfortunate scene where, Swenda betrays her in the worst way. Like, you think that they're like, oh, no one can see us here. Like, in a way, it felt like, oh, maybe they're gonna like hold hands. Maybe they're gonna kiss, I don't know, and then she brings her man or whatever, or like just someone.
Some random dude.
And I don't think we need to say what happens next. But the shot afterwards was one of my favorites. It was devastating to me, where it's like a long shot on her just picking herself up after it. Just the way Alexandra Cwen uses her body and face in this movie is insane. Like, because she says like 3 words in the whole movie. Yeah. But you see so much, and like just the way it felt like it took about 10 minutes for her to get up, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, because you see when you jump to that shot, it's much later.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like now dark.
Yeah, the previous scene, it's like it had been daytime, and now it's dark, and so it's clear that like she had been left there with no concern for her safety, and she gets up. Yeah, it takes her forever, and you just feel her betrayal in that moment.
And then that leads to the rat.
Mm-hmm.
And again, yeah, that was when I was like, okay, Albrun, yes. And she's hearing the call of her mother throughout the whole movie too, from the woods, like, Albrun. And it's like, yeah, I think we just want to answer the call here. And for me, it's like, what do you think's going to happen if you treat people like shit eventually? You know, and especially when, I mean, they killed her goat too, and she had an unnatural relationship with the goat.
Yes, she did.
That was the part of the movie where I was like, oh no, Ziana's not going to come back. I was like,
what did you make me watch?
Yeah. I was like, because it's sort of, this movie has a slow build, and you're sort of like, oh, it's not going to go. Oh, that was the moment where I'm doing the, oh. Because she's milking the goat, and it's sexual for her.
Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know how to phrase this.
Oh,
it's weird. It's weird that like, yeah, so she basically starts masturbating while she is milking the goat, but she's not like sexually assaulting the goat or anything. But it's this weird moment of like, that's her companionship, is this goat.
Yeah, she's so
see, like,
lonely.
She's so connected to just another living being, and like she's kind of like hugging it. And so it was a weird scene to be like, oh, this is a weird moment, but then also you're like, she's up here totally alone.
Yes.
And
no, I'm really glad you brought that
up.
It
almost made sense.
You know, it does make sense, because it isn't, I mean, there's a part where she sort of seems to be like rubbing the udders in a weird way that was like, that felt, but at the same time, she's just really good at her job milking goats, right? Like that was what my next note after I got over it was like, I bet that's really good goat milk.
Yeah.
You know, like I bet that's really good.
Probably. Yeah.
But I agree, because her loneliness is so profound, and it foreshadows where she goes, where really the movie is saying that she's connecting with nature, with the woods and the forest and stuff, and this goat is obviously, like the only companion she has aside from her baby, who is remarkably well behaved and silent for most of this movie until she's not. I had the same sort of journey where I was just like, so I understand her, and that's really good. Like, it's a really good movie.
It really was. And you start to think too, like putting yourself in her shoes, that all she knows is living isolated away from people, and like her only experience of like sexual experiences are very limited, you get the impression, but also a strange circumstance for them, but it's so different from modern times, you know? So it's like, we at very young ages here like see images of people kissing, people, you know, like having sexual experiences, even just like on TV shows and movies, and so we grow up with that being normal, and she didn't have any of that. So
yeah, I can't even, and we sort of see a little glimpse of that when she's hiding her menstrual blood in the beginning of the movie. Like that was what's happening with her as her mom goes nuts basically and dies. And so, I don't know how we are alive, to be honest, to get from, a lot of reasons, but how we can get from there, where we don't even know what's like you said, how do I know this? I mean, it's biology or whatever, but it's just, if I'm her especially, she's had no external stimulation at all, aside from, her surroundings, and there is a lot to be stimulated by her surroundings, and that sort of seems to be the message of the movie in a nice way, even though it's very dark. Because especially, I didn't even really think of it until you mentioned the isolation, but it does remind me of the last couple of years, right? Like in some ways, I mean, because I was very fortunate to be with my wife, and actually we got married during that time, and so I wasn't, but like I know I'm lucky, and but there's also people in the woods in Germany or wherever that are, I don't know, I didn't know this was like a timely movie.
This is is a COVID approved
Yeah.
movie.
I guess every movie has that now.
That's true.
Yeah.
At least that's the lens we're gonna see it through.
Yeah, sorry for the lens. Yeah. Yeah. Chilled reds are a good thing.
Yeah, they really are.
It's
this is a light one. It's very.
It's light. What I really like, it has the bite.
Mm-hmm.
It's very crisp. And it's fruity but not sweet at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean I was gonna say it tastes like how it looks, but that doesn't make any sense. I guess it looks like strawberry, but it doesn't really.
I was gonna say it looks sweet, so that's why
that's true.
I like dry wine, so I was a little nervous at first that it looked like it was gonna be really sweet, but this is, very dry, not sweet at all, but still that like lightness that you would get from a sweeter wine. Yeah,
I'm almost more confident in my drink choices than movie choices. So I was like, I know this is gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's going to match the movie, but I feel like it kind of does in a way. I mean, and we have our witch here.
Yeah, it literally has a witch on it.
Yeah, and that was all I needed to secure it. But yeah, I think, I mean, do you want to talk about the ending? Because that's where I think it gets a little bit up for, I mean, not confusing or whatever, but it's like, what happens with our Albrun?
It's such a slow-paced film. And then I feel like the last 10 minutes, there's a lot that happens in that time frame. So it was kind of interesting where you're like, wait, what? I had just gotten comfortable with the pacing of this film, and then you're hit with all these different events.
It's a movie that is sort of lives in discomfort, I felt. Mm-hmm. And I think, like you, I watched it in two pieces, because last night I watched it too late, and I was there for the deliberate pacing and it's never boring because it's just so beautifully shot and so absorbing in the sound and the cinematography. But I was like, I kind of want to be more alert, and maybe I had some instinct that like there's going to be another gear here.
Yeah.
And then this morning, it's a hard movie to wake up to.
Yes. I was watching this movie at like 7:45 and was like, oh, okay. But last night when I was trying to watch it, my cats were too hyper and they kept like trying to run across my computer screen, and I was like, I had to keep pausing it to get rid of the cats, and I was like, no, I need this to be like a no distraction.
Yeah, this isn't a comedy or something.
No,
yeah.
Because again, there's no dialogue, so it's not like you can look away and still understand what's happening. If you look away, you have no clue what's going on. You can hear like ominous music or sound effects, but you have no clue.
And even if you look away, it's in German. So like unless you know German, you're not gonna get it.
I completely forgot this movie was in German, but again, because there's so little dialogue that. The dialogue isn't what stands out.
Right. If you're a lazy American who doesn't like subtitles, this is a movie for you.
It really is.
Because there's like hardly much reading. Mm-hmm. Although I feel like those same people probably want more action or something.
Say this probably is not.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But I don't know. This movie's disturbing and good. And yeah, it ends with sort of the worst case scenario. I wrote a note as she's walking around with her baby doing mushrooms in the forest, which the mushrooms were very phallic. They were sort of wriggling, and I was like, well, those gotta be magic mushrooms, or at least they're something.
Yeah.
And then she has sort of a reawakening. Again, another moment where like time has passed and she wakes up in the forest.
Yeah.
Her baby hasn't said anything. I mean, clearly it's not an actual baby there. And then she's just tripping in the woods.
Yeah.
Have you had shrooms before?
I have not.
I've
been too scared to try it.
Well, no.
And for the next part.
What? No, I would never do that. I've done shrooms when I wasn't in the woods. I think that was maybe the problem. You know, I was like watching Pineapple Express with friends, and I was in college, and I was just not. I wasn't ready. Okay. I wasn't ready. And my fragile self, I almost I wanted it to be over.
Okay.
It was a bad trip.
That's why I haven't tried it.
But now I want to go back. I want to join Albrun in the forest. Because it really, I mean, LSD in the Forest is a different. I don't know if I really want to be talking about drugs too much, but but LSD in the Forest has that same feel where you're just like want to touch things, and you're just and you want to feel connected, and you are connected in a much different way, and it to me, it's almost a shortcut to connection though, because it's like I shouldn't need to have acid or shrooms, even if they're natural in some way, especially shrooms. It's like, no, this is how I want to feel with nature all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like bowling with bumpers or, training wheels on bikes. It's sort of like, it's maybe a good thing to start if you need to like remember. That's what it feels. It feels like almost like a remembering of like, oh, I can feel like this in the woods and be comfortable here. And then from there, it's like, if you need to keep using it, it's sort of like, oh, I don't know. There's no answers to that. I was just going on a weird, the wine's hitting me.
A tangent.
Yeah, a tangent. The tannins and the tangents.
They pair nicely.
They do. But then she kills her baby.
She does. Okay, so I felt like at the end of the movie, she kind of started to, there's a lot of symbolism that to me represented death. That she kind of starts to choose.
Yes.
And I kind of interpreted that as like, she's clearly always been different than the people around her, and there's these really strong like expectations of her society. Like there's this role of the church, and that comes back several times of like, the church is right and this paganism, like you, is wrong. And I kind of got this like she almost had a revelation. She'd always been different, but at the end she really just chooses to go like fully into it. She's like, I don't want to be anything like these other people. And when she takes the shrooms, it's growing out of like a dead like animal skull. Remember, it was like right next to that, and there was some maggots and stuff next to it. So it's like there's this death, and she kind of starts gravitating towards things that are dead. And so she's like takes the mushroom, and then there's another part where there's like some dead flesh of some kind, and she like starts to eat it, and it's like she kind of just starts to like.
What are you talking about? The very end?
Yeah. What was that?
I thought that was her baby.
Okay.
That was what I thought.
But yeah, that's the other thing. Her baby kind of represents like life, and her goats had represented life, and so it's like, well, her goats were taken away from her. She ends up killing her baby and like going into this weird like creepy swamp and having this kind of weird
awakening.
Yeah,
well, it was a blood baptism, right? Yeah. It was phantasmagorical because it was like very dreamlike, surreal. I mean, she just drowns her baby and then she just goes in.
Yeah.
And sorry.
Yeah, and so it's like, I don't know. I feel like she just goes fully into her like witchy pagan destiny and choosing these like items of death, and then she sees her dead mother, and it's like her mother had been calling to her. So I don't know, the last part of the movie is really like death focused,
and I think it's sort of what's interesting, because in a way it feels like nature stands for life, and then the church in a way, I mean, you see the church, right? It's really cool looking.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Like this really white, stark comparison to the nature, which is very green and brown, and then we go in and it's just skull wall, which again, death. And then we have the priest basically giving her a skull with a flower on it, which I thought was maybe her mom's skull. I couldn't tell.
It was too.
Yeah, okay, which just seemed like a weird thing. He was like lecturing her about God and like whatever, but basically saying like don't follow her path.
Yeah, don't be like your mom.
Yeah.
Here's her head.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It was like, I don't know if that message works, buddy. But he sucked. So, but it was like, it was a cool skull.
Oh, yeah, it was super cool.
Good for the poster. Do you have any other, like, lasting thoughts? I was going to borrow your notebook for the last question I had for you.
Okay. I mean, I guess just my only last remark would be, like, at the end, she kills her baby. She does all these weird, extreme things, but you're not upset with her.
No.
Like, it's weird to like watch a scene of someone killing their baby, and it's like you don't blame her. You don't even think this is like the wrong thing to do. You don't feel any desire to like jump in and protect. You're just like, okay, she's being who she is. She's making her own choices. Like, you kind of just want to support her
And how heartbreaking is that the idea of her killing her baby actually, to me, felt like in some way was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it was like ending the cycle. Because it was like she was going to get killed or die in the same way that her mom did. And then her daughter was going to get raised and the same thing was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking but it was also empowering that she sort of, that moment where she's looking at the fire and it just sort of like plays over her face and then she just like goes into her hair. Like you can probably do it a little bit better than me, but it was like, that was really cool. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, she's like owning.
Yeah.
I mean, just, I don't know. To me, that felt like sensual in a way, but it was like loving herself and accepting, right?
Yeah.
God, yeah, this movie.
It was heavy.
I feel like it's one of those movies where like the watching of it, I was like, I don't know how much I like this movie. And then when I'm done, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And now talking about it with you, I feel more.
I was gonna say, I told you I wanted like the Spark Notes version because I was gonna say like there's so much symbolism in it, and I'm sure that there's things that were in it that I missed, and you could just tell that the filmmakers, like every single frame, every object, every building, like everything had a meaning to it.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what all those meanings were, but.
And that's okay. You know, we're only one glass of wine in, and I wanted to ask. I guess that we sort of did this, but this is your the Avid Movie Watchers Journal cinephile here. She is the basic cinephile, and I wanted to ask. This is from her, it's a note, like basically a note taking for movies, which I was like, this is the most me thing that exists. And I was like, how did you feel after the movie ended? And you gave some options, and to me I was like, I don't know if I'm any of these right now, but happy, sad, confused, bored, angry, excited, or scared?
I circled confused because again, there was so much meaning there. And at the end, I was like, I know what I took away from this. I'm like, I have no clue if that's what I was supposed to take
whatever
away from
you
it,
take away is the right
thing.
So
I was like, I'm confused because I feel like there's more that I could learn from this film. So that was one thing that I said I felt. And then I also, I picked scared, even though this isn't like a scary movie, but I would say it's very like ominous. The tones are very dark. It's more suspenseful, and so I didn't leave feeling scared, but I left feeling like, ooh, that's
disturbed.
Okay,
that was the word. But I circled excited and scared, which to me feels like almost disturbed. Because I was excited because it was a good movie. I'm always excited when I discover a new movie for the first time, and then I was scared because of sort of what I had seen, and also scared for this, of like, oh, will I be the only one who liked it? Because I think it's a big ask, especially in this scenario. Like, hey, we're having, this is the first time we met, we're having sparkling red wine, we're watching breakfast wine, and unplanned, and just, but I feel like it all just sort of worked, you know? And now we are both Washingtonian, forest-loving people. And, you know, shrooms to follow. You know, but I think that does it. Ziana, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me, and I don't know if I would have found this movie on my own. And I'm excited to have watched it. I'm
glad you selected it, because I feel like it was not on the high, like it wasn't in high demand on the list, right?
Well, I didn't exactly have first pick, but
ooh, that's true.
But I watched the trailer, like half of it, and then I stopped it, and I was like, I don't even want to know anything else.
Yes.
I want to watch this movie.
Yeah, I just knew it was semi like The Witch, which came out a couple of years before the Eggers film, and it does sort of go in those same realms. But I honestly, in this moment, I'm wondering, like, I thought The Witch was going to be so much better, but they're not too far apart.
I haven't seen The Witch yet.
Or The Vitch. Some people say it like that because it, like, the titles, but come on, it's The Witch.
Witch.
We'll just call it The Witch. Yeah, we'll call it The Witch. And, thanks for getting witchy with me today.
Yes.
And so next time, tomorrow, day 3, hopefully it's tomorrow, we'll see. Day 3, I am inviting my old college buddy, Federico Jimenez, and we are going to be talking about the 1973 experimental horror film Ganja and Hess. We'll be pairing it with a nice Kenyan coffee. Thank you all for watching Horror Movies with Friends. This project is near and dear to me. I'm doing it for my friend Chris, who passed away this year due to mental illness, and because of that, I'm running a foundation. It's also the only reason I'm putting myself out there and actually doing this. And I'm running a fundraiser for the Trevor Project. They are an awesome organization. Like, my therapist told me about them, and when I asked people around, it always came up. And they are a nonprofit organization that helps LGBTQ plus youth with crisis intervention and suicide prevention. So if you can't afford it, please donate over the next month and watch some horror movies with me. And let's have fun. Let's watch horror movies together. Let's howl at the moon. So tomorrow, I'll see you at the next phase of the moon. In the meantime, Ziana, let's howl at the moon for the ones we miss, for those we wish. We're here to see this.